Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel SFDC Panther. In this video, we will learn about filter bindings and how to use cell function while we are working in bindings. Under filter bindings, we are going to work on these three binding methods. One is add date range, which is actually used for getting a data between two dates, for selecting one date to another date, like last 1 year or last n years, last n quarters. You can provide any range here on this first method, that is as date range. Second one is as range, like you have some amount field and then you wanted to specify some values like 0 to 10, or you wanted to specify some values 10 million to 20 million, that we can use here as a as range function. We will also see the examples of this, and we will also see as equality, that another function inside filter bindings. This is actually came into the picture, or we use this function whenever we are working on, let's say that we have a pick list values, and in that pick list values we have more than 100 values, and we wanted to get the data for a particular pick list values. Then we have two options. One, we can use list filter, and the second option that we have is with the help of bindings. So sometimes we don't have a relationship between this the data set that we are using to display the data in a bar chart, and the data set that we are using to display the list filters. So in those cases we need to use binding. So considering all these cases or all these use cases, we are going to work on all these three methods. And then we also discuss about cell method, how cell method is constructed with the help of three parameters that we are going to see here. So again, there is a source parameter that is actually a step, and then the type of binding, either it is selection or result, and then we have the row index that might be a zero in most of the cases, and that varies, depends on your requirement, like if you wanted to get zero index or 1 2, or the number that you wanted to, you can provide here. And then column name, it is either value 1, or you have given some custom name to it. So let's quickly start with as equality method, and then we will move forward to each and every method. So this is our dashboard that we created into our previous video. I've modified it, added some headers and images to it. If you wanted to, I will show you how you can add it. So before we go ahead here, let's quickly start into our method. So as we see in our previous slide as well, so we had as equality method, where we actually need it took one parameter. If you go back here, you can see here in as equality is took one parameter, that is field API name. So this is nothing, we have to provide the API name. So where you will get this API name? So this is the API name of a field where you actually wanted to put the filter, or you wanted to use as equality operator. So how you will get this? So for this we are using a data set that is wave sample opportunities. This is the data set that we are using. So let's quickly open this to see what is the actual API name for that, and then you will get to know what is the API name of your field. So if you wanted to get the API name, you will get a field section here. So if you click here, you will get here, you wanted to get the API name of your account type, so you can see here, or you can, this is your API name, you can click on copy and it will copy, and even it will give you what actually the API name is. So that's what we use. So to create the static steps, we followed the same step that we did in our previous video. We drag and drop this toggle into our dashboard widget, and then we added two. So if you wanted to see what values we have is, so quickly find this query tab and then get the ID, and then with the help of command E for Mac users and window E for Windows users, if you click, we will be able to get to know what exact the JSON file of our dashboard is. So if you use here Control F, and you will find your static step, we will get here, you can see values is the topmost node where we will get all the value with key and value pairs. So for display, we have account type colon partner, and the value that we have is partner. So this value must be the same value for that pick list or for that field that we actually are filtering. So if you wanted to get what values we have is, you can quickly add a bar here for account type. And once you will add this bar, let's quickly close this. You can see that we have two values, only customer and partner. That's what we put here, customer and partner. Now we wanted to use this. So how this is actually working? So let's try to see here first. So let's close this lens. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to put a filter here on account type. So we will put filter account type and let's select only one, and that is partner. So now you can see that there is only one value, that is partner. And if you go to the SOCL mode here on the query mode to see SOCL, this is the query and this is a filter that is being added behind the scene into our SOCL query. And we need to replicate this into our JSON file so that we can add our dynamic bindings as well. So even we can put this as well in our query parameters or in our value here. Instead of we copy this, instead of this partner, we can put our query as well. That is also a one uh, parameters that we can use, but as we are working in equality as equality operator, that's what we are doing here. So now we have got this, how this is going to work. So again, this is going to work like this. So let me quickly show you here. So for this we are going to use column, and then we are going to say that inside column, and then as equality we'll say as equality, and here it will take a parameter that is account type. And the column that we are going to use is, let's say that it was a step underscore 2 dot selection. And then what we need to get is we need to get value for that, because this is the name of our parameter. So this is how we are going to get that into our chart, into our actual chart. So let's get our chart API name. So if we go here, that is account by type 1, and if we find this, you can see that this is a SOCL query. And if you don't see your chart in a SOCL query mode, let me first tell you how you will get that chart in your SOCL query mode. So let's quickly add a query here and add wave sample opportunities. uh, for this we wanted to show sum of amount. Now we have got this sum of amount, uh, but if you add this, you will not get your chart in a SOCL query mode. For this, what you need to do is go to query mode, just remove anything and put a comma here. And once you will run your query and click on done, then you will get here one more, that is this should be lens 2. So if you drag and drop this, yeah, here if you drag and drop, you can see that you are able to see this is your lens that we just created. And if you go to lens 2 here, and you will get that now you are able to see your query in a SOCL query mode. Now if you wanted to put a full filter here, how you can put a filter? So for that, let's quickly get back to our chart, that is the actual that we are working. We have here, so this is grouped by account type, because we wanted to show only account type. And then if you see, this is the one that we were talking about. What we did is we manually typed q filter q by, and again if you go back here, you will see that this is what we are doing here. We are saying that q, that is actually query, equal to filter query by, this is the API name where we wanted to put a filter. And then for that we are using here filter by, and then after that this is our step, that is our static step, and we are using selection binding here to get the value whatever we have selected, and then in which type we wanted to get. In our previous video, we used as object to get the values in a form of array in as a string. But here we wanted to get we wanted to use some other deserialization method, that is as equality, and we have provided here what actually API name we are looking for. Now let's quickly copy this, and I'll show you what actual output we will be getting here. So by using this, you will get the output here, and if we try to see the output, and let's say that we have selected partner and we are able to set partner, and for customer if we select here we are able to get the customer. Now what actually this binding is returning, so let's quickly add a text here, and we wanted to display whatever the selection is there. So this is, let's remove this, and the id is text underscore 4. So let's quickly go to our JSON format, and I'm going to say text underscore 4. So here this is our, and for the value text, let's quickly put our code here. Now we put here our code. Okay, it is saying invalid JSON, wrap this into the double quotes. Now let's click done. You can see what actually we are getting here is we are getting account type in partner, and if we change this, we are getting account type in customer. Even if we use this here, if you let's go back to our original query, and instead of here, so let's say use this in our query and try to run, are we getting them some error? So why we are getting error? Because it is saying that where is that? Okay, so let's quickly see what query here we have is. So here we are getting this query, this is our final query, and this is our original query that we actually built in our JSON form. You can see this is how what we put, and after that query we are getting this is our final query. So if you wanted to get, so let's quickly copy this much part, because this is the idea of our data set, but in our lens we need to provide the name of our data set. That's why here we are providing name of our data set. Now if we see here, you can see we are getting the value. Earlier why we are not getting? Because we missed this group by in our lens. Now if you go to lens form chart mode, even you will see the value. So both cases it will work. If you are trying to apply double equal, then you need to remove this uh, array form, and then your query work. And if you are trying to use in parameters, you can also use in parameters, and you can pass here multiple values like customer, partners, or if you have any other pick list value as well. So this is how you can work with as equality operator. Now let's quickly talk about these two like range. First we will talk about this as date range parameter, as date sorry as date range method. So we have a requirement, we wanted to get the sum of amounts for all those opportunities which has been created last year, and we also wanted to see the same information for the current year or last 2 years. So if you see that now even this is working. For current year we don't have any data, this is why we are not getting, and for last year we do have. So how this will work? So first let's quickly see in our lens mode, and then we will try to apply that into our JSON form with the help of our bindings. So we have here. So let's quickly remove this filter so that we can get account type here. Now we wanted to put some filters. Let's close this lens, because we will not be able to add any filters here. Now let's quickly add this sum amount, and here let's say that account name, I wanted to see the information about account name. Now we have a descending order from top to bottom. We wanted to add a filter here, so let's quickly add a filter here, and we wanted to add uncreated date. What value we actually wanted to, so we wanted let's say that for last year, that is actually a previous year. So let's quickly add this. Now for created date we don't have any data, so let's try to add for close date instead of created date. We might have some data for previous year. Yeah, we have. For close date we have some data here. Now if you go to our query mode, you will see that here the filter is being applied like this: date, and then we are this date method is actually used for constructing a date format, any string in a date format. So close date is a API name. If you see here, let me quickly show you. So if you see that here, this is your actual parent field, that we are putting a filter here. And then we have closed date year, we have closed date month, day, week, or every single time unit you will get here. So to construct a date, we need year, we need month, and we need day. That's why we are using a date method here to construct date with the help of year, month, and day. And then we are using in parameter that we used in previous. And if you see here, now we are performing, sorry, now we are using two parameters, that is concatenated with dot dot. So this is actually an array. Even if you see that we are using a square bracket which indicates for array, and this dot dot indicates that the we can say that the timeline, or we can say that from this particular year to this particular year, or from this particular time to this time. So that's why here we are getting 1 year ago, and we are saying that 1 year ago. Even if you wanted to say that 10 year ago to 1 year ago, and we wanted to put some queries here, you see that there is some difference in amount. And if you see that it's now 1 2, and if you query here, you will see that it's 8 7. So that's how you can put a filter here. Now how we will implement this, let's quickly see here. So for this, what we did is, let me quickly show you this. First, for static step, again we dragged and dropped our toggle method, toggle into our dashboard canvas here, and then we added some values. What value we added here is, as we need some uh, as we need value in form of array, like two values, we added two value for every single display name. So for last year we have two values. How we added, let's quickly see. So here if you see that for last year we have two values. What value we wanted? Only 1 year ago. And this value, why we did put in the form of array? Because if you see again, the value, the filter that it actually requires it in the form of array. Now if you see here, we have this value for 2 years ago. For this current year we have current year, and now this will be separated with the two dots to get the date range, to get the range of any information. Now before we go ahead and actually see the implementation for this, let's quickly come here, and it is actually static 2. What we will do is we will try to find out our text, that is underscore 4. Instead of static 3, let's quickly use static 3 and use column method, and we will see what actually output we are getting here. We are getting nothing, right? If you see, we are getting nothing. Even if you try to toggle, we are not getting nothing here. But if we see, we need output in the form of array. For that, we know that there is another function, another data selection function, that is cell, which takes three parameters and returns the value in the form of either one-dimensional array or two-dimensional array. How that will work, if we try to make the changes here into our text as well. So instead of static 3 selection, instead of column, let's quickly use cell. And for the row index, what we want is a 0th index, and for the value we want, for the column name, if you see here, for the column name we want value. This is the actual. And then for as equality, let's quickly remove this. Sorry, I think we forget to check once. So let's quickly revert our changes for now, and then this is a column value, and then remove as equality. Instead of as equality, let's quickly use as date range. So here we are saying that as date range, and what we actually need here is, we need to pass this. So let's quickly pass this inside our parameter, because we saw here in our method that is as date range actually took a parameter that is what, that is of type date, and is requires one like year, month, and day, that we are passing here date. And then for this, let's quickly use escape characters. Now let's try to do this. Okay, we are getting some error. I think we need to refresh this page because I think we forgot to our syntax was wrong somewhere. So let's try to find our text. Okay, we forgot to save our value that. No problem. We'll do that again. Yeah, so let's find out our what how we actually using this. So this is as date range if you wanted to see. So let's quickly go back to our dashboard here. We have selected last year, so let's quickly select this, and you will get this down arrow and then show details. This is our final query that we can see here. This query is actually being generated with the same that we saw while we were seeing the demo. And now here, if you see that this is our binding trace, if you see the binding trace inside that, we are using the cell method, and cell method actually has a date range which is giving. This is a value that we are passing in our cell, static 3 dot selection, and 0th index, and the value that we wanted to get here. What result we are getting is 1 year ago, comma 1 year ago. So this is actually the value that we are getting here is, and if you see the result, we are getting the value here. So this is how you can apply the filters on your date range, and even if you wanted to get the value, you can put a filter here, sorry, text box here, and then you can use the same bindings that we did for our edge date range. And if you try to put some other year for last 2 years, if you wanted to see, you will see that it is 2 years ago and 2 years ago. So this is how you can work with your like date range method. And then the next and last that we have is that is as range. So now we wanted to define our opportunities, that these are high opportunities, these are medium priority or medium amount opportunities, these are low amount opportunities. For that we need to provide range. So how actually this will work? Again, we need to see what or how the query looks like whenever we are performing some range here. So let's quickly do again the same thing. Open our data set and go to the lens. We wanted to see the sum of amount here, and how we wanted to see is by opportunity name. Again, if you wanted to add a bar chart with different, you can use that particular bars as well here. Now we wanted to add a filter here, so let's quickly add a filter sum of amount, and then we wanted to between, so let's say um, let's quickly add this, or how you can drag and drop, you can see here. Add this, we are able to see these much opportunities, right, from whatever we added 680 and all. And if you wanted to see how this will work, this filter is being added like this: greater than or equal to 600 and less than or equal to this. Or if you only wanted to put instead of sum of amount, if you wanted to put amount, we can also do. So we have this, if you wanted, let's say that let's try to put this, and then we'll see if this is working or not. Nope, this is not working. And because we don't have that, we did not query this, or we did not use this in our query. So let's work on sum of amount itself. So we have generated the statement sum of amount as a sum of amount, and then we are using that here. So this is how our query will actually work, sorry, the filter that we are using here. Now to use this, what we did is, again, we created a static step here, and let's see, it should be static 4. And then if we see the values, and again we are putting the value in the form of array, and the type of this static step is a number. You can see for the value it is number, for the display it is string, because in the value we wanted to put the numbers here. So we have put 0, and then it is 10 million, and then from 1 and 50 and 52 above, whatever value you wanted to put here you can put, and the display we have given here. Now how we use as date range, sorry, as range, same as equality we used, and we provided a single parameters that was actually the name of our API. That's what here we did is, and if you find out, let's quickly say If we find out as range here, you can see this is our filter. We said that query, filter query by how we wanted to put a filter is, wanted to put a filter static for dot selection. And why we are using cell, because we actually wanted to get the value in one dimensional array, so that we can put a filter here. And then as range, in which particular API name we wanted to apply that filter. That's what we did here is amount. Now if we wanted to see how is the original query will look like, so let's quickly say here, click on show details, and you will see that this is how your original query is looking like. The exact way, the exact query that we are able to see here. Instead of generating, we are putting the filter before. And in our previous lens, we are generating sum of amount because we are putting a filter on amount. That's why we are getting that error. And this time we put the filter before generating the statement, before generating whatever the output we wanted to get. And again, you will see the same we are getting here. And this is how your query look like. You can see that this is what is being used here in query, and the result actually is like this. So this is how you can use your filter bindings, and inside that filter bindings you have three options. And before we wrap up this video, I wanted to show you that here is if you click here, you will see that all the charts are getting reflected. And if you go to account type, you will now only see one. Why you are getting only partner here? Because we selected partner in this lens. And why, how this is working actually? So this is working because all four bar charts are coming from a single data set, from a same data set. And if you go here and you go to your query section, you can see that apply filters from faceting. No, this is not the option. Here is the option, broadcast selection as facets. So if you uncheck this, and then after we select, will not be able to see that other charts are being also reflected. You can see we selected partner, nothing happens on this other charts. But if we select this, other charts are being reflected. If you go to account type, and I'll say that I select customer, you will say that there is nothing. Why? That's again the same thing. That checkbox that we saw here is, if we if we select this check, if we uncheck this checkbox, the bindings will not work. But this checkbox will only work for those bar charts or for those widgets which are from the same data set, that this particular or anywhere the chart has been created. And these two checkbox are, if we have some filters, list filters, and we wanted to get reflected on those charts, this is these are for list filters, this particular checkbox. And this apply global filters, like if we have a global filter on any particular dashboard that we wanted to apply across all the widgets, we can use this checkbox as well. So this is it for this video. If you have any doubts, please feel free to put those into the comment section of this video. And I'll share this particular JSON file for your reference, because if you might don't have this particular data set in your environment. So thank you guys, and wish you a very happy new year in advance. Thank you.